Pleased to be here today to provide an overview of the 2023-24 investment proposal and capital proposal processes. Joining me today on the call are Kimberly Devleash, who's our controller, Justin Olivieri, a financial analyst, and Michelle Anderson, a financial planning analyst. During the presentation, we'll stop for Q&As after both Justin and Michelle have completed their demonstrations for both the capital and investment proposals, and then again at the end of the presentation. Please note, this presentation will be recorded with closed captioning and will be shared shortly for future viewing. So today in our presentation, we'll cover first the investment information technology staffing request and capital processes. We'll review some guiding principles. We'll have a refresher on prioritization and categorization, as well as human resource requirements. Fourth, what it takes for a high quality submission. We'll have demonstrations of the tool, and then we'll review some key contacts and next steps. So here on the screen for your reference, we have an overview of the Budget Planning Committee, along with the Campus Master Plan Committee and the Investment in IT Proposal Committee. In terms of guiding principles, first, a limited pool of funds will be available to finance investment and capital requests this year. Due to the limited pool of funds, financial managers must discuss proposals with their VP prior to entering them into the intake tool. Management will be evaluating all investment and capital requests for priority approval based on some key guiding principles. And these include, first, the investment must significantly align to key strategic plan priorities and or align to the college's strategic mandate agreement. Next, the investment focuses on the enablement of the 2023-24 approved enrollment plan. And then finally, the investment as a result of a mandated legislative requirement. Once the proposals have been submitted into the respective tools, they'll be compiled by each VP division. The Investment in IT and the Campus Master Plan Committees will review the submissions and prioritize initiatives. The Mohawk Executive Group, or MEG, will approve the final list of priority projects prior to presentation for approval to the Board of Governors in April 2023. Now, the intake tool will have a similar prioritization and categorization consideration section similar to last year, which aligns to the key guiding principles for requests. Each of the 4 questions is to be answered by choosing the statement that best matches the project's outcomes. All fields are mandatory. Now, based on given responses, the tool will systematically calculate and priority rank each request. This is important in prioritizing initiatives, given there's a limited pool of funds available to finance investment and capital requests this year. For 2023-24, the intake tool reflects 7 strategic aspirations, along with the related strategic directions. The 7th option under strategic aspirations is strong foundations. As mentioned in the college's strategic plan, strong foundations ensure that we can progress towards our aspirations and ultimately achieve our leadership outcomes. This option should be selected for situations where there's a proposal that may not tie directly to one of the 6 strategic aspirations, but the proposal is essential for us to operationally achieve the strategic aspirations. The subcategories will include people, planning, reputation, technology, and financial health. The prioritization and categorization considerations, which are shown on the slide, are first, the number of strategic priorities or aspirations that are supported as a result of the investment. Second, the number of students and/or employees that are impacted by the investment. Third, the ROI that is generated within 5 years. This includes revenue generation, cost savings, and/or process efficiencies. And then fourth, enterprise risk that is mitigated as a result of the investment. Now, the intake tool will have a human resources section, which is to be completed when the project requires human resources during the planning or implementation phases of the project. Project owners are requested to provide the department, the role or title of persons required, the estimated effort, and the date range for the project to be completed. This is non-financial data, so there is no need to include salary and benefit costs in this section. The intent of this informational section is to list major departments, roles, estimated effort, and timeframe required on the project to promote advanced awareness and confirm if there are existing resources available to carry out the work on the projects across different areas of the college. This will determine if and what additional staff is required. I'll now pass it over to Kim.
Thanks, Samir. Before entering your requests into the tools, please consult with the following areas to ensure a higher quality submission. If your capital request has an impact on facility space, including the modification of space to accommodate academic equipment, please consult with Lee Sordo so that they are aware of your proposal and can provide you with a quote for any required facility modifications. They will also be able to advise you of the human resources required to achieve your objective. If your request has an IT component, please consult with Jeffrey Silva for audio-visual, display, laptops, and room setups, and Ash McGrath for infrastructure, software builds, and integrations. IT will assess your request and help you to provide meaningful cost and time estimates. IT will also need to assess the resources required to support your request. Within purchasing services, please contact Sherry Giles, who can assist with the costing and purchasing requirements of goods and services and ensure adherence to college purchasing policies. And within human resources, please speak with your human resources strategic partner if you're requesting any staffing changes. Financial managers should confirm such things as the correct employee group, whether the position is full-time or contract, the appropriate pay band, a realistic start date, and implications if there are going to be changes to existing positions. If you are requesting to have any EPMO staffing, please consult with John Sozio. The college has an approval of capital, renovation, and maintenance projects policy that helps lead and guide the capital request process. Further guiding principles specific to capital requests include: the project will improve health and safety or accessibility, the project is mandated by legislative requirements, or it is required to maintain the college's infrastructure. Expenses should be one-time in nature and should be in excess of $5,000. All costs associated with the request should be included, such as the purchase of the equipment, plus costs associated with renovations or information technology needs required to operationalize the equipment. The purchasing department can assist with obtaining costs for equipment, renovations, and maintenance. All costs should be detailed and confirmed. Per unit costs are to be provided rather than one lump sum amount. For example, if you require 10 widgets and they cost $1,000 each, you would provide that level of detail rather than requesting $10,000 in widgets. Include ongoing annual costs beyond the current year. Specify the currency the goods are needed to be paid if it is not in Canadian currency. And taxes should be included in the request. 3.41% is the college's non-rebatable tax rate. And now I'll pass to Justin.
Thank you, Kim. All right. First of all, I'd like to talk about the College Equipment Renewal Fund Guidelines, or SERF. The purpose of the SERF grant is to help colleges acquire and renew instructional equipment. Eligible equipment that qualifies under SERF includes replacement of existing or acquisition of new instructional equipment to meet industry standards such as computers, lab, and shop equipment. Minor alterations or renovations to leased or owned facilities to accommodate the new equipment, such as necessary electrical or room modifications. Instructional equipment that provides accommodation to persons with a disability. Ineligible expenditures include primarily ancillary or administrative functions or towards activities already funded. SERF funding for 2023-2024 has not yet been announced, and in terms of this fiscal year, SERF funding is $523,000. Could we please go to the next slide? All right, so now I'll go through a demo of walking through the capital intake tool, specifically looking at capital proposals. I'll cover off logging into the tool, entering and printing new proposals, and also viewing proposals that have already been entered. So I will go now and share my screen. All right, so in order to log into the capital intake tool, frequently asked questions will be sent out and you'll be provided a link within that document. So what I'm going to be doing is grabbing the link, copy and pasting, and going into my Google Chrome browser and pasting the link in. First, if I haven't signed into the tool before, I'll be prompted to enter my Mohawk ID. It's important to enter your Mohawk ID instead of your first and last name. All right. All right, so once we enter the intake tool, we'll land here on the main landing page. What we'll be able to see is, first off, the intake icon. This will take us into the tool. And we'll also see, again, the FAQ documents and also the Enterprise Intake System Training Manual. The training manual outlines various details about the intake tool. It's good to go over this document if you have not prior used the tool, as it includes information such as logging in, navigating through the icons, the proposal classification, link to the strategic plan, resourcing, financial costs, attachments, submitting the proposal, using the proposal list, and viewing or printing the proposal. It also has many appendixes that go through details of the intake tool. So if you need to reference back to something that you missed during the presentation, you can easily go here to look through the document. As you can see, it'll outline step-by-step how to do various tasks. All right, so now I'll go back and I will go into the intake tool. Just excuse me, I'm just going to change over to the development site. All right, so now that we're here in the intake tool, I'm going to click on the light bulb icon to go into the tool. All right, so now that I've landed into the intake tool, I will be able to see a ribbon at the top that has multiple options, such as creating a new proposal, filtering on data within the proposal list, such as date filters, requesters, fiscal year, and other options to the side, and also the option to share our proposal and export it to Excel or PDF. Exporting the proposals we'll touch on once we've completed a proposal. Within the proposal list, you'll be able to see all the proposals that you have created or any that you have been tagged on by a submitter. Within the proposal list, you will also be able to see a number of the details from the submissions. Let's go now and create a new proposal. First, we're going to click on the new icon. When you create a new proposal, whether it is a capital proposal or investment proposal, you will land on the same page. It is not until you make the selection in the third box that the page will change and become specific towards what type of proposal you are submitting. In the ribbon on the top, you have the options to save your proposal, close your proposal, go to the next step, submit your proposal, or cancel your proposal. Now, let's start a proposal. The first thing we want to note is that the proposal includes multiple steps to it. These steps can be viewed on the sidebar on the left, which include your proposal summary, the link to the strategic plan, resourcing, financial costs, and attachments. We'll go through each of these steps in detail. Let's start with the proposal summary. You will notice that there are multiple fields with red asterisks beside them. This indicates the field is mandatory to complete the submission. You'll also notice that there's some icons beside some of the fields. If we hover our mouse over these icons, we'll be able to see a brief description of what's expected to be entered within the field. You can hover your mouse over, or you can also click on it to see what's inside the box. All right, so let's start. So first, I'm going to be putting in the title of my proposal name. So we're going to do some chemistry equipment updates in the C-Wing. The fiscal year, so you can click the drop down. You'll want to make sure you select this upcoming fiscal year, which is 2023-2024. Our proposal classification. So again, we'll want to make sure that we're selecting the correct proposal classification here. If it's a capital proposal, we'll be putting in annual capital proposal. However, if it's an investment proposal, IT, or staffing request, we'll want to select these options. I will be covering capital proposal, and Michelle will later go over the other options. Once we select annual capital proposal, the subclassification menu will change. This changes depending on what you enter, and you'll notice that the options are all prefaced with annual capital proposal. Next, we're going to select the requesting division. The requesting division is going to be academic, as this is academic equipment. You also have your other options to select here. The requesting department is going to be engineering technology. Next, we're going to enter our description. In the description field, ensure to add details on the proposal's purpose. There is enough space to add 4,000 characters, and the fields can be expanded, and you can also copy and paste information into the fields. So we can, as you can see, we can open it up. Next, we'll be entering the rationale, why now? Add additional background information to support the request, including regulatory/compliance requirements, system and application requirements, or impacts, and any vendor requirements. Similar to the description field, there's a limit of 4,000 characters, and you can also copy and paste. Next, we'll enter our target start date. We'll want to click the calendar icon and make sure, most important thing is to make sure that we're putting it into the correct year. So my project's going to start in May 1st. So entering May 1st, 2023. And then my project is planned to end in July. So I'll select July and put July 31st. The next thing we'll be looking at is the subclassification. So again, as mentioned, this is dependent on what you make your selection of proposal classification. And here we're going to be entering it as academic equipment, but you can see here you have multiple other options. So depending on your proposal, select the appropriate option. The proposal requester, so this has the option to change. So if you're submitting your request on behalf of somebody else, this is where you could go ahead and look for their name. So if I wanted to change it to my coworker, Larissa, I could select her name here. By searching and typing out her last name, it'll help me search through this menu, as there are many names listed here. For the purpose of the submission, I'm just going to leave it as myself. In terms of the org, we're going to select the appropriate org code in which the expenses will be charged. In this case, I will be entering 1482. It is recommended to use the org of the specific academic program, department, or project sponsor. Now, for sponsor or financial manager, this must be a financial manager of the designated org at the director/associate dean level or above, approving entry of the request. So in this case, I'll be putting in my manager, which is Kim. Our next option here is multi-year proposal. If your project spans over multiple years, you'll want to make sure you indicate it by checking off the box here. However, in this case, my project is just for this fiscal year. That's upcoming. In the outcomes, objectives, and benefits, we'll want to provide the expected outcomes of any financial or non-financial benefits. So in this case, my equipment is going to allow them to access the current industry standard. Again, 4,000 characters, and you can expand the fields. Next will be our impacted divisions or departments/stakeholders. You want to provide any details on any department or vendor resources you know would be impacted. So in this case, my equipment's going to require some renovations, so I'm going to have to put facilities and of course purchasing to purchase the equipment. Now we are ready to go to the next step. We can click next or select the page on the left-hand side. However, I recommend at this point to hit save, and after you hit save, you'll be taken back to the landing page of the intake tool. So now that we're back on the landing page of the intake tool, we'll be able to see our proposal right here. What you'll notice also is that it's been assigned a proposal ID, and we can now export it to PDF if we like. But we got to remember that we're still in the status of draft. So we're going to click back in to complete the submission. When you resume the intake tool, you'll also have more options now, and the ribbon in your proposal will be assigned a system-generated proposal ID as mentioned. It is important to hit save once you complete the proposal, as the upload files icon is required to attach supporting documents and will not appear until you hit the save. After you hit save, the following icons will be added to the ribbon. You'll now see the option to delete your proposal. You'll see an option to upload files and also an option to export to Excel or PDF. Now let's go to the next step, which is link to the strategic plan. In this page, we'll be inputting information as to how our capital proposal aligns to the strategic plan or SMA3. Samir walked through these details earlier in the presentation, and for the purpose of our submission here, we're going to be selecting option B, which is enabling future-ready education. In terms of strategic direction, the strategic direction will change based on what you put in here as your strategic aspiration. So because we selected B, we have the options for B, and so I'm going to select B3 as my strategic direction. If I were to change this to option A, you'll notice that this gets deleted, and you now have the option to select one of the supporting strategic directions for option A. So we'll change that back to B. Next is prioritization. First, we'll be looking at, does this project required by law, regulatory, and compliance reasons? In this case, it is no, so we're going to leave that blank. Next, we're looking at the strategic plan or SMA3 alignment. We'll want to select which option, how many aspirations we're supporting here. So in this case, the equipment supports 1. Significant college impacts. How many students will be impacted by purchasing this piece of equipment or doing the renovation? So in this case, it is under 1,000 students. Our return on investment will be what is the clear ROI within a 5-year period? And so for the equipment, there is no impact. Enterprise risk, we have no impact. All right, and so we'll want to go to the next step, which is resourcing. The purpose of this section is to capture any key human resources required during the planning or implementation phases of the project to promote early awareness and confirm if there are sufficient resources available to carry out the work across key areas of the college. So in this case, because we're doing some renovations, we're going to need some resources from facilities. So we're going to enter that in here. And the role or title of the people that we'll need is a project manager to help plan the project. In terms of estimated effort, we're going to want to enter this as our working days per month. And so we're going to need somebody to help out for about 5 days a month for 3 months. And we're going to select from how long we're going to need them. So we're going to need them when our project starts, which is May 1st. You'll notice here that the calendar only allows you the option to select the first date of the month, and then over here, the last date of the month. So it'll be requesting to put in full months here. All right, so if you need to add another resource to this, you can simply click the option here. You'll be given another field and you can fill it out accordingly. Next, we'll be moving to financial costs. This page will look different depending on the selection you made on the proposal page for proposal classification. If you're working on a capital proposal, the financial cost page will look like this. Michelle will walk through the investment proposal page. First, what we're going to want to do is to add our cost. Once we've added our cost line in, we're going to want to select the fiscal year. As mentioned, if this is a multi-year project, you'll want to select the fiscal year that the cost you're entering relates to. If it's a single year project, you'll want to just select the appropriate fiscal year. So in this case, we're purchasing some microscopes. So that's what we're going to put in the description field. And then the extend type is going to be the classification of equipment or maintenance or renovation that you are completing. So in this case, our equipment's going to be greater than 5,000, but less than 25,000. So we're going to select this option here. If the equipment is greater than 25,000, you're going to want to select major equipment. Okay, and then our unit cost, as mentioned by Kim, we're going to want to put the unit cost of each item and not the lump sum. So these microscopes are going to cost $6,000 each, and we're going to be purchasing 5 of them. Next, we're going to want to add in our renovation costs. So we're going to put in an extra line, electrical modifications, and we're going to select renovation. And it's going to cost $2,000 to do the renovation. And then the next line that we're going to want to add is our ongoing annual costs. The ongoing annual costs can be entered into a future fiscal year to distinguish that it's not for this year, but it's a future cost that will reoccur. And we're going to want to call it annual maintenance. And we'll want to make sure that we categorize that as maintenance. We're going to want to call out that's going to be $250 per year. So you don't need to put a lump sum, you just put the per year cost and just one. And what you'll be able to see here in your summary of amounts is that you now have 2 columns for separate fiscal years. Please make sure to include all the financial costs associated with the proposal in the financial cost page. Once we have completed this, we can move on to attachments. Under attachments, we'll want to enter any quotes or any information that we can support our proposal with. So in this case, I'm going to click upload, click choose file, and I'm going to grab the quote here for my microscopes. All right, and so now once I've completed all these tasks on the side, I'll quickly review each tab. And then once I've completed reviewing, I'll then decide to submit. So I'm going to click submit. And now you can see here that your proposal has changed from draft status to submitted status. All right, now working with some of these filters, we have the option to look back at certain date fields. If you want to look at old proposals, you can choose this field here to apply filters. You can also apply filters on fiscal years. So if you wanted to look back, you could select previous years and you should be able to pull up old requests. You also have the option to look at different statuses and all the different boxes here. Now, if we wanted to export our proposal once we've completed it, we have the option of exporting as a single file or as multiple files. And how we can do that is by selecting this PDF icon here. And as that loads, I'll go through the next option. We can also select this checkbox off here and select multiple proposals and click on the top ribbon here, export to PDF. What this will do is download multiple files or multiple proposals in one file. So you can see this document is 8 pages and it has multiple proposals listed within it. Now, if we wanted to pull an Excel file, what we'll want to do is go into the request in order to pull an Excel file. Doing it from the proposal list will not work, so we'll want to make sure we go into it and then click on the button here, Export to Excel. And once we export it to Excel, we can open it up. And you'll see here that you've got your information similar to the PDF, separated into 2 tabs. So we have 2 tabs. Here's our financial costs summary, and then here is just some of the other information. So that concludes my demonstration. I will now pass it over to Michelle, and she will walk through the next portion of the presentation.
We now have 3 different types. We have our standard investment proposal, which many of you will be familiar with, and it is a request for operational funds that support our strategic operations. We also have the IT proposal, which is for IT equipment, software, systems, that type of thing. And new this year, we have staffing request. Staffing requests should only be used for requesting additional staffing to support your operational needs. If you require non-staffing related costs in addition to staffing, you should still be using a investment proposal. Just as a reminder, if you're planning on making staffing requests, and that includes part-time, contract, or full-time, you should be consulting with your HRSP, as they can help you determine what employee group it is, if it's permanent or contract is more appropriate, and to identify the appropriate pay band for, and as well a realistic start date. Please remember that it does take time to go through the hiring process, so it is not feasible to request a staffing request for April 1, because by the time it's approved by Meg and then the board, and then HR can go through the hiring process, we usually recommend at least June 1st as a start date for staffing. So we're going to do a demonstration of going through the tool. So we will go into requesting an investment proposal. Again, as we saw with the capital proposal, we just go into the intake. Now, these first few screens are the same regardless of the type that you are requesting. So I'm going to skip through these pretty quickly. You want to click on New. We're going to be doing and launching a new marketing process for STEM, your fiscal year, your proposal classification. In this case, we're going to do an annual investment proposal. Requesting division. It's academic. You choose your financial manager that is responsible. I'm just going to pick a name. Description of the project. This should be as detailed as you can possibly make it, just to give the information to the VPs as they sort through these priorities. This is not a multi-year campaign. We're going to increase STEM enrollments. rationale as to why now. So we're going to say that our stakeholders are going to be marketing and engineering. Target start date. And it's going to be a 2-month campaign. And as I just did, if you notice, I did not change the year. Please make sure that you choose the correct date. It has to be within the fiscal that you are requesting. Going to the link strategic plan. It is not regulated. College impact, it's going to impact 1 or 1,000 students. ROI, no impact. The reason I've put no impact here is it's very difficult to determine what a return on investment might be for this type of program. Until we get into it, we don't know what the consequences would be. There's no impact to the enterprise risk. We don't require any additional resources for this project. Now we get into financial cost. This tab will look different depending on the type of project you've chosen. As you can see, it is very different than what it looks like in the capital request. So you can request full-time salaries, contract salaries, part-time, ongoing non-salary costs, or one-time non-salary costs. In this particular instance, we're going to require a part-time person. So, admin assistant, manage the project. We're going to require this person from the start of our project. Till the end of May. Hourly rate is going to be $20 per hour. Number of hours. This is the entire amount of hours that you require for the length of the project. In this case, we're doing a project that this person is going to be required for 1 month. They're going to work 20 hours a week, so they're going to work a total of 80 hours. So it calculates what the salary is. It automatically calculates your benefits for you. And you can see it updates down at the bottom. We're also going to have one-time non-salary costs. And this is for consultants to develop our materials. And we've estimated that this is going to cost us $10,000 in 23-24. As you can see, you can also fill in future years if this was going to be an ongoing project. We're not going to have any attachments for this, so we're going to do a submit. Now it's given me an error message because the title is already in use. The estimated end date cannot be more than the estimated start. Cannot be before the estimated start. And the subclassification is a required field. So if you miss anything, it will tell you, so it won't let you continue on. Now the 2. Fix the date. And hit submit again. Subclassification, as you can see, it did tell me again there's a problem. And that would be in the proposal. And this is an investment proposal with staffing, but not regulatory. As you can see, it's now gone through and is here. The staffing and the costing is the same whether you pick an investment proposal or an IT proposal or the staffing request. So you just need to fill out the same fields on each. Once your proposal is complete, you will receive an email notifying you that it has gone through into the system. And the system will update you as the proposal moves through the process. So as the first one says, you've got a status of submitted. So I have just submitted the proposal. This will be reviewed by FPAs. And if there are issues or we have questions for you, we may ask that you fix that. And the way that we will do that is we'll set that proposal back to draft status. You will receive an email allowing you to go back in and make any changes that are required. You'll be notified if it's declined or put on hold or if it's canceled, or you will be notified once it proceeds to BPC for review. And then finally, you will receive an email notifying you that the project has been approved. This is an example of a notification. So as in this case, we've put it back to draft so that you can actually make a change. Key contacts. So if you have questions on the tool itself, or if you cannot log in or you have technical issues, please contact Femi Ajibodo at extension 3076, and he can help you with that. General questions on capital proposals, please contact Justin. For investment proposals, please contact your designated FPA.
All right. Now what we've got on screen here are just some next steps and some timelines associated with them. So from November 21st to December the 2nd, this is when financial managers will review and evaluate needs and enter requests into the investment and capital systems. SLT will prioritize the request for each of their areas, and then VPs will review the prioritizations with their teams and make final adjustments. On December the 5th, the investment IT and capital proposal reports will be distributed to the vice presidents. From December the 7th to the 9th, Finance will meet with each VP to review priority requests. From December 12th to the 16th, Finance will prepare committee reports. On January the 4th till the 5th, the Investment and IT Proposal Committee and the Campus Master Plan Committee will meet to discuss the top priorities. From January 9th to the 13th, Finance will review and assess the financial impact of the priorities. On January 17th, COVP will meet to review financial impact of the priorities and adjust and finalize as required. From January 18th to the 20th, Finance will review and assess the financial impact of these revised priorities. And then on March 8th, they'll be presented at MEG Budget Day. And then once approved on April 19th, they'll be presented to the Audit, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee of the Board. And then on April 26th will be the final presentation to the Board of Governors for their approval. Now, with that, this concludes our presentation, and I'd like to open up the floor to any questions.